Picture this. 80 soldiers march off to the Austro-Prussian War, and 80 soldiers return. Plus one confused Italian hitchhiker clinging to their supply cart like a lost tourist at Oktoberfest. You heard that right. Liechtenstein, a country smaller than your average Walmart parking lot, pulled off the only military operation in history where deploying troops was less like warfare and more like hosting a surprise timeshare presentation. They didn't just fail to lose men, they upsold. Here's the math that'd make your algebra teacher projectile vomit into her graphing calculator. Most nations hemorrhage troops like a hemophiliac in a razor blade factory. Liechtenstein. They treated battlefields like Tinder swiping right on enemy combatants mid-conflict. Their casualty report wasn't written in blood. It was scribbled in the margins of a UN humanitarian aid checklist. 0 dead, 0 wounded. One Austro-Hungarian Italian recruit acquired through what historians politely call radical career mobility. Wrap your head around this clown logic. While Prussia and Austria were busy turning Bohemia into a human Cuisinart, Lieutenant von Zimmermann's platoon literally chilled in an alpine meadow for 2 months. Their fiercest battle, a knife fight with a wheel of aged Gruyere, and somewhere between sniffing wildflowers and composing bad yodeling Hakes, they convinced an Austrian telegraph officer, a man who'd clearly gotten lost on his way to an actual war, that joining Liechtenstein's military was a better career move than returning to Emperor Franz Joseph's crumbling clown car of an empire. Let's autopsy this absurdity with the reverence it deserves. Imagine if D-Day ended with Eisenhower accidentally adopting a German Shepherd and 3 Wehrmacht privates who just really vibed with his leadership style. Modern armies drop billions on recruitment ads with fighter jets and chest-thumping patriotism. Liechtenstein's entire defense budget went toward baking strudel so hypnotically delicious, enemy soldiers surrendered just to get the recipe. And Francesco, the Italian defector who rage-quit the Habsburgs for a tax haven with delusions of grandeur, that guy's the real MVP of geopolitical Stockholm Syndrome. He didn't just switch sides. He pulled a full witness protection level rebrand in a country where the entire parliament could fit inside a Chipotle booth. King Johann Roman II probably high-fived himself raw when he heard the news. We sent out 80 glorified mall cops and got back 81 unpaid interns. Humanity keeps trying to die in creative new ways, but Liechtenstein out here playing Uno reverse with trench warfare. Next time your boss lectures you about team-building exercises, remind them that not even multinational coalitions can compete with a microstate that turns enemy conscripts into drinking buddies before the first artillery shell lands. The punchline's carved into history's tombstone. When the dust settled on Kernigretz's 10,000 corpses, one man stood knee-deep in alpine daisies thinking, maybe I'll be a Liechtensteiner now, proving once again that violence solves nothing, but sheer obliviousness accidentally builds empires, or at least buys you a seat at the world's weirdest potluck. Austria's military strategy in 1866 made as much sense as a Twitch streamer using a toaster as a gaming chair. All confidence, 0 survivability. The Habsburgs demanded troops from Liechtenstein expecting Spartan warriors, but got 80 guys whose combined combat experience amounted to sternly shushing library patrons. These weren't soldiers. They were cheesemongers with spears. When Austria's generals handed them a battle plan thicker than the Alps, the Liechtensteiners probably used it to level wobbly beer steins. What makes this historical farce chef's kiss poetic is Austria's track record. They blundered into Königgrätz like a drunk uncle stumbling into a wedding reception, losing 40,000 men in a single afternoon. Prussia's artillery turned their ranks into abstract art, while Liechtenstein's platoon picnicked in a meadow debating whether Edelweiss counts as a salad green. The only casualty, their tense structural integrity during a spirited game of alpine thumb wrestling. Imagine commanding an army so catastrophically useless, your enemy mistakes your retreat for a guided nature hike. Austria deployed Liechtenstein's troops as rearguard reserves, in military jargon for human speed bumps, a task they failed by virtue of befriending Austrian deserters over schnapps. Modern generals drop millions on psyops. Liechtenstein's secret weapon was peer pressure and elderflower cordial. My Uncle Klaus tried this tactic during a family BBQ feud, bribed the neighbors with bratwurst, until they forgot he burned down their shed. Diplomacy's just arson with better PR. The Habsburgs were the crypto bros of empire building, over-leveraged, chronically online, and convinced their manifest destiny memes would moon. Their battle plans flipped more times than a Tesla on autopilot, treating supply lines like optional DLC and cavalry charges like a 2-for-1 Uber promo. Prussia steamrolled them so hard. Franz Joseph, I probably dug through couch cushions for reparations pennies. Meanwhile, Liechtenstein's captain wired home. Mission accomplished. Acquired Austrian buddy. Send more socks. History's greatest flex. Scaling your defense budget to match a middle school bake sale. Austria spent more on ostrich-feathered helmets than Liechtenstein's GDP, yet couldn't buy a W against Prussia's teenaged conscripts hyped on nationalism and stale pumpernickel. The microstates veterans returned home not with PTSD, but with souvenirs like sketchbooks filled with landscapes, and the existential dread of realizing their muskets still had price tags. And the tent-pole debacle, peak Liechtenstein. While Austria's survivors limped back missing limbs and sanity, these chocolate-making champions filed a formal complaint about inclement weather damaging their canvas. Their war diary reads like Yelp reviews. 1-star battleground, poor drainage, loud neighbors. However, discovered excellent wild mushroom foraging. Would not die here again. Humanity's tragicomedy writes itself. Empires rise and fall, but only Liechtenstein weaponized apathy into an immortal flex. Prussia annexed half of Austria, got diabetes from all that strudel-shaped shade. Behold Austria hemorrhaging territory, like a teenager, misplacing AirPods, betting its imperial dignity on Shanghaiing vine tenders, from a country whose chief export is unmarked hiking trails. Enter Giovanni Soldini, less Jason Bourne. More that one uncle who somehow wanders into restricted airport zones holding a slice of pizza. This Tuscan meatball achieved battlefield skinny dipping through enemy lines not via skill, but because Habsburg border guards were chronically distracted. Imagine security cameras manned by Peter Griffin trying to parallel park. Sentries were either mainlining schnapps or live-streaming Marmot TikTok battles, while Soldini crotch-walked past checkpoints like Sam Porter Bridges in Death Stranding, dodging patrols with the urgency of someone returning a library book. Austria's vaunted defense grid, a dollar store baby monitor wrapped in moldy bratwurst casings. The kicker arrives when our fugitive Olive Garden dropout crashes Liechtenstein's war effort. Their response, the bureaucratic equivalent of finding a feral cat in your IKEA bag. Guess this is ours now. No debrief, no background check, just a communal grunt and a ladle of molten raclette. Their national security protocol resembled a kindergarten lost and found box labeled miscellaneous soup. A galaxy brain twist. Vienna actually Venmo'd Vadas for their new recruit. That's like paying a DoorDash driver who delivered your sushi to a raccoon den. Prussia's countermove. Artillery forged from Oktoberfest kegs and sheer Germanic disappointment. Post-battle paperwork was pure Tiger King meets Yelp review. July 12. Acquired Italian. Mildly damp. Exchanged for 3 wheelbarrow wheels and a sincere handshake. Not even a wellness check on how Giovanni breached their non-existent DMZ faster than Twitter Blue subscribers ruin a trending hashtag. By armistice, Soldini had absorbed enough alpine cholesterol to qualify as a fondue fountain. Liechtenstein's final tally. 0 casualties plus 1 adopted meat lover whose greatest trauma was learning Swiss German via interpretive dance. Modern militaries optimize supply chains. These lads weaponized benevolent neglect like a Montessori school running a coup. Austria's coping mechanism. Generals screeching. Espionage like Gordon Ramsay finding raw chicken in a beef Wellington. Their actual border defense. A keep-out sign duct taped to a Roomba circling a potted geranium. Meanwhile, Giovanni retired on a pension of cholesterol and anecdotes prove you can't spell Liechtenstein without stoned. Humanity's lesson. History isn't written by winners, it's fanfiction scribbled by survivors hopped on expired cough syrup and secondhand embarrassment. Liechtenstein's epiphany about their prisoner-taking oversight landed with the subtlety of Elon Musk, reviewing your codebase while high. Their field manual prioritized winter sock garter protocols and defensive strudel preservation tactics. But interrogation methods were scrawled by a sugar-crashing toddler in the margins between how to appease hangry goblins and Lederhosen stain removal flowchart. Enter Soldini, a strategist whose doctrine resembled Guy Fieri's Food Network contract. Maximum melted cheese, zero apologies. Captured combatants typically endure harsh dramatizations of 24 scenes or forced team-building exercises. Vadas's response: a bureaucratic shrug followed by emergency pasta allocation. Their combat motto evolved from honor, duty, to artichoke dip counts as plausible deniability. Antonio's conscription notice arrived via post-it. Sauté onions by dawn or face treason charges under the 1711 Bechamel Accords. Bayonets became garlic presses, helmets repurposed as truffle shaving stations, and the Alps developed a permanent scent profile of aggressively caramelized shallots. Austrian surveillance drones captured battalions defecting over risotto technique. Culinary mutinies so savage, Tucker Carlson's producers considered covering them unironically. Prussian war declarations arrived as DoorDash complaints. Code violation. Your carnitas operation violates Geneva Convention, meet temps. Cease garnish-based hostilities immediately. Meanwhile, Liechtenstein's parliament deadlocked debating whether POWS qualified for Michelin star tax deductions under their saffron ceasefire clauses. This was gunpowder gastronomy. Battle logs read, Sep 12. Liberated Umbrian olive grove. Casualties. 3. Acquired non-Nas wild boar ragu recipe. Worth it. Affirmative. While Caesar sought glory and Spain pillaged for gold, Vadas mobilized to source ethically farmed porcini. Declassified NATO cables later revealed panic over Engagement Protocol 9. 4. 1. Detainees shall receive complimentary espresso and artisanal biscotti before questioning. Milk frothing is not optional. Giovanni's exoneration broke CNN when Austria's extradition hearing devolved into a live Great British Bake Off audition. The judge awarded him asylum after sampling his focaccia. The tortellini truce was technically ratified via late-night Grubhub order. Humanity's grand folly. Switzerland engineered nuclear-proof vaults while Liechtenstein weaponized a hashtag. Occupational hazelnut hazmat. The ultimate troll. Their embassy gift shops now sell Swiss Army graters engraved with, "In crust we trust." Resistance is paella-able. Giovanni's ascension to Vadas's royal mascot played out like a Netflix true crime documentary, where the raccoon in your trash can winds up with his own Spotify wellness podcast. Parliament rubber-stamped his AWOL pardon using the bureaucratic equivalent of a drunken Amazon review. Ambassador of culinary ceasefires. 5/5 stars, would surrender to tiramisu airstrikes again, while redirecting their defense funds into truffle futures quicker than a crypto bro swapping Solana for Dogecoin during a market crash. That time, Liechtenstein yeeted its military in 1868 wasn't some noble pacifist awakening. It was the geopolitical version of deleting your Tinder profile, but leaving your Venmo open for herpes medication donations. Bayonets got swapped for sous vide machines in a constitution update that now reads, Article 7. All invaders must survive chef's table-style tasting menus before discussing annexation. Giovanni avoided conscription via Parmesan avalanche mishap trademark paperwork, a cover story as believable as Elizabeth Holmes's baritone. So they just airbrushed his face onto the royal panini press and declared it fusion diplomacy. Austria once tried extraditing him for culinary espionage. Liechtenstein replied with a Shopify store link selling European neutrality starter kit. Giovanni spent the Cold War era teaching bomb disposal via ravioli metaphors. If the filling oozes out, you've overcooked democracy. while his pension guaranteed unlimited Fontina access and parliamentary shutdowns during Carbonara code reds. Modern Vada still employs his TikTok famous great-grandson as Director of Emergency Al Dent Operations, whose viral pasta prep videos feature quinoa-free carb-loading drills. NATO leaked Liechtenstein threat dossier reads like a DoorDash receipt crossed with a Pentagon briefing. WMD status confirmed. Stockpile includes 40 arranged nematode samples from the 47 Piedmont lasagna offensive. Codename Non-Na's Revenge. Humanity's obsession with chaos. We're basically those apes in 2001. A space odyssey smashing climate accords to poke the AI monolith labeled "This tweet will end fascism." Switzerland hoards gold bars. Liechtenstein hoards alibis for parking their rapid response bratwurst food truck outside Burning Man. The takeaway isn't war as hell, but that piece is just war with influencer collabs and artisanal accountability avoidance. Ukrainian troops get cluster munitions. Liechtenstein's veterans host luxury glamping retreats where guests reenact the Great Schnitzel Skirmish, using Beyond Meat shrapnel and NFT confetti cannons. Even their tombstones come with QR codes linking to 5-star Yelp reviews. Giovanni Rossi, neutralized hunger, weaponized Alfredo, expired mid-sous vide. Smash that subscribe button before Liechtenstein's Ministry of Deep-Fried Sovereignty copyright strikes this channel. They're 3 Elan meme tweets away from annexing your kitchen via real tournament live stream arbitration. Terms apply. Void where cannoli filling is prohibited.